This is David Mould. I'm reading from my book, Postcards from the Borderlands. This excerpt is entitled The Barrels of Barishal. I was looking at a stack of blue metal barrels stacked on a short wooden jetty on the riverside at Barishal in Bangladesh's Delta region. They looked greasy, so I guess they'd contained a petroleum product. Oil, the young man standing beside me confirmed. They bring them up from the coast. Although Bangladesh has major reserves of natural gas, it imports most of its petroleum products through the seaports of Chittagong and Mongla, where they're transferred to the inland waterway system to reach refineries and distributors. At Barishal, as in other regions, the oil arrives in drums stacked on barges. From the dock, the drums are loaded onto trucks, vans and handcarts for final delivery. Empty barrels are piled up on the dock, ready to be shipped south again. There are no cranes or winches in operation, with all loading and unloading done by labourers. As I watched, they carried baskets of bricks and sacks of cement on their heads from barges. Barishal, on the west bank of the Kitankola, a distributary of the lower Meghna, is the commercial gateway to the southwest Delta region. It's been whimsically described as the Venice of Bengal or Venice of the East, although if you're just counting waterways, almost any large town in southwestern Bangladesh is a Venice. The Kitankola is not deep enough for the ocean-going cargo ships that steam up the lower Meghna, but can handle smaller freighters and barges that ply between the towns of the Delta region, carrying bricks, building materials, and bulk agricultural produce. On a Saturday afternoon in late January, Barishal's commercial dock was buzzing with activity. Calling it a dock may be an overstatement. The brightly coloured barges were drawn up on the muddy, litter-strewn beach, with gangplanks connecting them to wooden jetties, uncertainly anchored in the banks. Vans, handcarts, and small trucks waited in the dirt loading zone for their freight. At first glance, it looked pretty chaotic. There was no uniform port official controlling traffic, and certainly no security checks. I'd just wandered in from the main road that runs along the dockside. But everyone seemed to know what they were doing and where they were going. The commercial port was working perfectly well without technology or bureaucracy, just as it had functioned for many centuries. The port dates from the Mughal period, when it was called Girdabanda, the Great Port, and was known for its trade in salt, spices and woods. During British rule, its name was changed to Barishal Banda. From the 1880s, it became an important centre for the passenger steamers that were the main means of internal transport in Bengal, with connections to Dhaka, Chittagong, Calcutta and smaller ports. Today, Barishal, with a population of 350,000, is second only to Dhaka for the volume of passenger traffic. "Dhaka, Dhaka, Dhaka!" The ticket agent buttonholed me at the entrance to the passenger gut. "Green line, depart in 1 hour." I explained that I wasn't travelling anywhere, that I just wanted to walk along the jetty where the passenger ferries called launches and smaller short-haul ferries were moored. He waved me through the barrier, and I clattered down the metal ramp to the waterfront. Passengers from Dhaka were disembarking from one launch. 4 others were moored, ready to head north to the capital or south to other ports in the Delta. For many years it was an overnight 10 to 12-hour trip between Dhaka and Barishal. Passengers who could afford to booked first and second-class cabins, while others travelled in steerage. Then the Green Line Shipping Company upset the market by introducing service on 2 faster launches, halving the travel time to 5 hours with 2 daily departures in each direction. Some travellers still prefer the slow overnight trip from Dhaka, where they leave behind the dense traffic and pollution, relax on deck with a cup of tea, and float south under the night sky. Others opt for speed, an air-conditioned lounge, an airline-style snack box, and action movies on the TV monitors. The 4- and 5-deck launches dwarf smaller short-haul ferries with 1 or 2 decks. Most of them do double duty, carrying both passengers and cargo. As I strolled along the jetty, crew members were loading sacks of rice, onions, potatoes, chilies and coconuts into the holds. A small truck pulled up, and the driver and his helper carried large bundles of paper onto one boat. In communities throughout the Delta region, some of which lack road access, shopkeepers rely on these boats to keep their shelves stocked. There's a newish road bridge across the Kirtankola, but most rivers and channels are not bridged. On the other side of the passenger ferry terminal is what I'll call the shared taxi station. Here, flat-bottomed noukas, powered by outboard motors or pulled by boatmen, provide short-haul service to villages up and down the Kirtankola. Each takes a dozen or more passengers, fewer if there's a bulk cargo, sacks of fruit and vegetables, barrels, a motorcycle, a cow, or a couple of goats. There's also the catamaran version, two nouka with a wooden platform that's large enough to carry a couple of vehicles. Even before they reach the beach and the short concrete slipway, passengers leap off and run up the short slope to the bazaar to hail an auto rickshaw. Like a shared taxi, a nouka departs when it's full, or when the boatman figures he has enough fares to make the trip worthwhile. No nouka advertises its destination. You just know that Faisal goes to one village, Mamun to another, and that Amit will make sure your children get to the school on time. Postcards from the Borderlands by David Mould, published by Open Books, is available from Amazon and other online booksellers.